Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to the channel, because that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Another weekly recap, folks, and this after a very long video of 2 hours plus that I put out on Wednesday. I hope you're not sick and tired of hearing me. If not, if you are, please skip this one. Give you a break. Because, you know, the recaps are long, and but for those of you who enjoy the channel, enjoy the content, we've got lots of content again for you guys. We've got a special unboxing. Peyton Street Pens has come through again. Terry, wonderful person. She's gifted a couple of pens to the channel to thank me for previous purchases and just an overall passion that I have for the pens, as she put it. So thank you very much, Terry, for that. We'll show you a sneak peek at the pens that will be reviewed in detail eventually. I've got some new inks from China again, interesting inks. And you know what? Crena. We're going to revisit Crena a little bit. We've got pens revisited, and we got some weapons for you for next week. And we're going to finish it all off with some YouTube reviews. So without any further ado, Vincenzo and Fountain Pen Therapy presents its weekly recap for June the 28th, 2026. Okay, so welcome back. Market news. Let's start with market news. It's getting, I don't know, something's happening, both in the Chinese and in the other markets. Looks like we're getting some novelties. Summertime. Maybe summertime is a high period for fountain pens. I'm not sure. I've never done a market study. Before Christmas usually should be a period where lots of things come out just because you want to add them to your Christmas list. But having said that, looks like there's some action. So let's go to my computer and see what I've got for you. Here we go. Okay, first of all, bunch of pens by Yongxu or Yongxu, Yongxu. Been reviewed by a very good nibmeister, and his site is, and the name escapes me, Uncapped. That's it. I had to look it up. Joshua Lax is the nibmeister, and he has a site Uncapped, and he reviewed a bunch of these Yongxu pens, and he likes them. So I said, you know what? If they're good enough for Joshua Lax, the nibmeister, then it should be good enough for me. So I've ordered a couple of these. I don't know if you saw them. I think I may have mentioned them in the past, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. The next one is Kegaloo. Somebody mentioned, one of my viewers mentioned that there's some new edition, 2026 Kegaloo editions. I'm not sure they're all brand new. I may have seen 2025 being advertised the same way. There's this one, and there is this other one from Kegaloo. I'm sure I've seen these being marketed as 2025 limited editions. So, but I think I'm going to order one of the two, and I may have already have done so, but I forget which, or maybe both. We'll let you know when they get in. What else have I got? Majon's come out with another pen, the N15. This is going to be an interesting, where is the photograph? Yeah, it looks like it's a double-sided sort of a pen. One with the, I think that's the flex nib, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. Anyway, one with a Majon nib and the other one with a what looks like a glass nib, but maybe acrylic. Yeah, it is it says acrylic pen for calligraphy lovers. So it's a glass dip 3C acrylic. So it's acrylic glass look-alike, that sort of thing. So the N15, I've ordered that. When it comes in, we shall review it. There is, oh yes, they've come up with two more versions of the flex nib Majon has. This one in blue, and there's a black as well. I've ordered both the blue and the black. They come in, I'll show them to you. Maybe we will compare them to the silver coated and the gold coated nibs to see if there's any difference. And then of course this week, I think the surprise was that we saw this, at least I think this is new. I don't recall there being an X169 in the market. So Jinhao's come out with these pens, X169. What I've noticed is that the bands are different depending on which color you take. I've ordered, I believe, this all black. This red really excites me, and this blue. And I think I've ordered them in extra fine, fine, and medium, so we can take a look at all three nibs. And in fact, this may have inspired me for my revisited segment. Stay tuned for that. So Jinhao X169, I'm glad they come out with a new pen, and that I'm sure should carry with it the number 8 steel nib. What else have we got? I saw this pen, Lemon. We've seen this pen before in its various forms, but I don't recall there being one made out of titanium. I have the aluminum version of that pen, but I don't recall having seen before the titanium. So if that is truly titanium, I may be tempted to order it. It is $122, however, so there's a cost to it, but I could add it to my titanium Chinese nib collection. There you have that. Casa Stylographica that I always look at. Take a look at this pen. I don't know what this is. Whoop, where is it? Here we go. It's 26 euros. It looks really interesting, folks. It's called the Diesel Fountain Pen. Original diesel fountain pen featuring a bold contemporary design. Is this used? Oh, it's a vintage used new old stock. Isn't that interesting? You know what, folks? I'm buying it right now. Cart checkout before they run out. Okay, well, I'm going to go offline and I'm going to order it right away. There you go. Okay, what else have we got? Omas. This is the famous Omas Paragon 150/60/25 limited edition. That when the Omas family decided to restart Omas, and then of course they joined with the other Omas and with Mr. Zen. Mr. Zen, is that his name? I forget now. Yeah, and they finally came out with the pen. The pen is $3,800. It's got all kinds of limited special resin, etc., but I thought I'd show that to you. Yeah, that's not on my shopping list, that I can tell you. Beautiful pen, but I'm not going to spend $4,000 on it. There you have it. Then this is the Delta DV Dolce Vita Glow. Inquiring Minds reviewed the pen. It was gifted to him by Nino Marino when he went to Italy. By the way, I mentioned last week that I wrote to Inquiring Minds saying that we should organize a trip to Nino Marino together. And to my great surprise, he did answer and said that would be fabulous. So maybe I'll work on that. I finally get to meet, a Canadian like me. who's very popular on the fountain pen, in the fountain pen community. In any event, I've ordered this DV, Delta DV, Inquiring Minds. Douglas convinced me. It looks like a nice pen, and I did want to see this new 4 parallel ring center band that Delta's come up with, which it kind of differs from their old styled center bands. So that's coming into the station, or into the studio, I should say, as well. So there you have it for market news. Lots of stuff. There was other stuff, but I had to kind of manage. Those are the ones that have really caught my attention. But things are moving, folks, which is welcome change. Welcome change. I've got all kinds of things coming in. I got this beautiful pen that I won in an auction. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'm hoping it comes in sometime soon. There you have it. Market news. Stay tuned for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. Let's take a look. The first thing I'd like to take a look at is kind of revisit my the video I published this week, which was, let me tell you, it was a lot of work, where we reviewed those 40-odd notebooks and kind of brought to a boil the ultimate challenge, which was to find the best alternative to Tomoe River paper, the original number 7 machine paper. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you who did have a chance to take a look at that video, either in part or in whole. It's meant to be digested a little bit at a time. Some of you were brave enough to do it all at once. There are timestamps. There's things in there that may not interest you. Feel free to switch from one section to the other. It's a long video, but at the end of the day, I felt that I would be amiss if I just kind of short-circuited everything. We have these wonderful things called timestamps, so you could ignore, a good part of it if you don't have the patience or really the interest, and that's okay. To go through some of the preliminary stuff, or maybe some of the reviews of the 40 notebooks. The fact of the matter is that I could have given you a 30-minute soliloquy on every notebook, and I needed to find a way to cut it down, but at the same time give you the benefit of my thoughts on the other notebooks. And look, several of you mentioned that, you have favorites, and that's okay. The challenge was to find a Tomoe River alternative. It doesn't mean that the other notebooks that I've mentioned, that I personally didn't make this cut. They didn't make the cut because they're not in the same profile as Tomoe River paper. But having said that, it doesn't mean that those are necessarily not good, or should be discarded from your collection or from your personal use. Quite the contrary. Most of those notebooks, as I mentioned, have all the characteristics of being wonderful, notebooks and wonderful paper to enjoy. And depending on your tastes and how your writing experience is excelled, it can vary. Mileage can vary. So thank you very much. Got a lot of positive comments. It's always a nice thing to get comments to say, wow, you did it, Vincent, and thank you very much. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I enjoy doing it, but if you are rewarded by positive comments, all the better. All the better. Now, having said that, and I don't want to overdose you with paper, but I thought I'd just revisit Crena paper. Several of you mentioned, where do I get it? How do I get it? And maybe I didn't go deep enough into the Crena paper, which was the winner for me anyway, and which I think is a wonderful alternative. And I've got to tell you, it's slowly making me forget Tomoe River number 7. I'm not sure that will ever happen, but let me tell you, I'm getting there with this paper. So first of all, let's see where can you purchase that paper. Okay, let's go to my overhead camera. I'd like to show you a couple of sites that I've been able to find so far, and I'm on the lookout. I got to tell you, I've written to several suppliers of notebooks to indicate to them you may be interested in getting Crena paper, to see if there's an interest there, to get them to supply it, because I know a lot of you don't have access to Taobao, or you're not able to configure it because it's Chinese, translated, etc. But let me show you what I've been able to find, okay, to date. So let's go to my overhead computer. First and foremost, let me just, wrong one. There you go. Okay, first and foremost, it's Taobao. Now, if you don't get it to translate, I have this little, you see this right here? It's a, I guess it's a little widget that is available. This is what Chrome, and it must be available in other search engines, which allows me to ask the browser to translate the site for me, and that's principally that combined with some configuration that frankly I forgot. I just forgot. I just played around with it until I got it, and it never occurred to me to trace my steps. But here it is, and what there's an actual store. It's called the Crena Stationery Store, and as you can see from this store, you have plenty of Crena products there. And some of which I'll show you that I've purchased. You've got loose sheets of all kinds of sizes, either punched or not. You have this sampler here, and there's part 1 and part 2. You've got travel notebooks size here. You've got the little B7 Slim here. You've got, this is the diary that I have and that I showed. You got several other, formats for planners, weekly planners, daily agendas. You've got another set here of travel size or passport size notebooks. You've got 5-year diaries. You've got all kinds of little cards. You've got even a puncher that can punch your loose sheets into bound binders, if you will. You've got this little big mini diary, which is B7. It's a little too small for me. But as you can see, you've got plenty of choices here in Taobao, and it's a question of going through them all and seeing which one interests you. There is this one that I'd like to show you, which is like 1,000 pages. It's a huge, as you can see, book, but it's meant for a stamp collection. But I'm wondering, there's no information as to whether or not this is good paper for me to write on. I'd be interested in getting this huge, I think it's 496 pages or 480 sheets. There you have it. Both sides makes it almost 1,000. But I found that interesting. So that's the first site, Taobao, and I invite you to, peruse in it if you can get access to it and take a look at what interests you. My advice to you is, if you're interested in more than one product, put them all in your cart and then consolidate the shipping so you can save on the shipping. Okay. The next thing is, I mentioned to you in a previous recap, So-and-So does have a section on Crena paper. Some of the stuff is a little more expensive than Taobao, but on the other hand, you get access to it, and for those of you who don't, and they do have some of the travel notebooks. They have other notebooks, as you can see. They have some of the loose sheets that we mentioned. Unfortunately, I don't believe, but I keep visiting the site because they keep having different products. And I did write to them, by the way, to tell them, can they get the diary that I enjoy, which is the A5 size. But as you can see, there's quite a few products there, and it's a question of choosing the one that may suit your purposes. Then our friends at Inkforge Works, which were those beautiful inks that I reviewed some time ago, which are expensive, but he had indicated that he would try to get Crena, and he's managed to get the Crena. As you can see here, he's got this particular A5 sized, but it's the 84 GSM, which is not the best one in my opinion. Not in my opinion. I wrote to him because he was supposed to let me know, and he never did. And then it was one of the viewers that said, by the way, Inkforge has got the Crena. I'm going to write to him, say, you shouldn't be getting this one. You should be getting the the Star Rainbow, and I'll get to that in a second. So Inkforge Works has got Crena paper as well, but this 84 GSM, maybe we'll test it in just the next segment. I'm not sure is the right one. I'm not even sure that this one appears in that sample book that I have, but we shall see. We shall see. So those are essentially the only sites that I've been able to find that do have the Crena paper. I haven't seen it yet on AliExpress, but I keep searching Crena just in case AliExpress does get it. And if any of you heads up find or manage to find other stores or other sources for this paper, please let me know so that we can share it with the community. Okay, so that's it in terms of where you can buy it. Now I've got some notebooks to show you, so stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, we're back. Here are the Crena products that I've been able to purchase so far. I've ordered more, and as I get them, I will introduce them to you in the channel. First of all, this is it's kind of a sampler for those of you who haven't seen one of my recaps, where it samples, and I believe there's a version, there's an R1 and there's an R2. I'm going to try to get the R2 as well, which is another sampler book, which samples a series of Crena papers. And they go from 50 GSM, 52, there's a 68, a 55, a 70. There's an 84 GSM. I'm wondering if this is the one that Inkforge Works has. There's one even that goes up to, what is that, 94? You even have one that's 100 GSM. And you can, try them all and see which one is the best one. Now, this sampler does not have the Star Rainbow, not this one, the Star Rainbow that goes with the diary, the A5 diary, or with these traveler notebooks. We'll get to that in a second, unfortunately. But just for the fun of it, there is one that's referred to as Star Bow paper, but I'm not sure that this is just, the Star Rainbow. I don't believe it is. That's why I've ordered the second volume of the sampler, just to better inform you. I don't want to mislead you. So you test the paper, and then it's not what you get. Let's take a look at that 84 GSM. Here it is. It's called White Olive Paper, 84 GSM. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure whether or not this is in fact the one that our friend at Inkforge purchased or is putting on their line. Let's take the similar pens that we used for our test. So this is the 84 GSM. This is the Pelican M1000. I can tell you that it's textured. Okay, first of all, it's a textured neck. I can feel the texture. It is slightly sticky. It's not as smooth. It's sticky, not as fluid. Yeah, and it's starting to sing on me. So it's not only sticky, but it's definitely singing. I don't know if it squeaks. But it's controlled, okay? So it's not, I'm going to stop right there. I think you've had enough, of paper, but it's not the one that I would prefer. But in any event, feel free to buy this. You can test the papers and see which one suits us best. The one that I would recommend, before we get to the one I would recommend, or the one that I like, this is the Crena B7 Slim. First of all, it's very small, as you can see. Let me just even go, yeah. It's smaller than an A6. It's just too small for me. I can hardly write on this. I mean, it's just too small. But it could have a purpose. When you're on the road, you can throw this in your back pocket, and it could do the trick. This is Spark paper, and this is 50 GSM. Now, again, I like the feeling of it. It is quite similar to TRP, and is very, very thin. I think my only downside of this, well, it doesn't write as nice, in my opinion, as the Star Rainbow, but the size kind of limits, or is not what I prefer. So I have it just for my collection. I'll see if I could use it one day, but it's not my favorite. My favorite, of course, so we can put those two aside for now, is this diary format, which is a kind of a day-free format where the dates are not already on it. Neither are the months. Okay, there are tabs for them, but it's you have no markings, but you have a very nice windows there to put all kinds of information to head your page for headers, etc. I find this is ideal. They do have a version of this with the actual dates, like a Hobonichi style, in case you wanted a yearly planner. Just the paper on this, folks, is just fabulous. I mean, it's getting to be crinkly, just like my Tomoe River paper. And by the way, I've gone crazy. I don't know how many of these notebooks I've purchased, but so this is my favorite. And I'm really liking, I've never used these traveler notebooks, but I'm really starting to like them just because of the paper. I've started to write on this lined version, and again, it's got that, I can feel the writing. There's texture there. In other words, just like Tomoe River, the ink sits at the top, okay, and it's so smooth and thin. Yes, there's a bit of see-through, but this has got less see-through than Tomoe River, folks. Take a look at that. I'm writing on both sides. It's more than acceptable. For those of you who absolutely hate Tomoe River, simply for that reason, you should not sacrifice your writing experience because of a little bit of ghosting. There's no bleed through. The paper is thin. I mean, you can get a lot of mileage here. A lot of pages in a very thin notebook. I've got these three that are now in my, I even have a traveler's notebook that I purchased, so I'm going to use this when I travel now. It's just because of the paper. So those are the three, the three products, the Spark, the travel notebooks. I'm getting more in. I'll let you know when they do show up, and we'll review them as they show up. So that's what I wanted to mention about Crena. I thought I'd just kind of revisit this paper and why it's it's become one of my favorite, if not my current favorite. Well, it is my current favorite, but it's getting close to replacing my Tomoe River number 7, escapade, if you will, because soon that paper will end, my supply will end, I mean. So there you have it. I thought I mentioned it. Now, I'm going to use this paper for my swatching, so without any further ado, let's get to my paper and swatching segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back, and what do we got new in the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios? Well, in terms of paper, folks, after that mammoth or long video that I just published this weekend, or this week, I should say, it's been up since Wednesday. needless to say, I don't have any new paper to offer to you. Not for the time being. It won't be long, but we'll keep going. We'll keep going. I'm not going to keep going with the challenge, of course, but we're going to be reviewing, from time to time, any new notebooks or new paper that come out or that people lead me to. I know the viewers have several times have made mention of suggestions. Most of the suggestions they make I've already reviewed, but sometimes there are new novel notebooks that I'm not aware of, and we'll take a look at them. Absolutely. That's part of this weekly recap. Can't promise that I will do it every week, but depending on what comes in, we will treat it as it comes in. So what I thought I'd do for this week is, given that Crena was the winner of my contest, if you will, and to me, in any event, it is the best alternative to the original Tomoe River paper number 7 machine. I thought what we do is we take a look at several of the, or two Crena papers. In other words, the two that I've managed to find so far that are that come in a notebook are the Star Rainbow, which comes in this, we saw it already, right? It comes in this notebook that we saw. It comes in these traveler's notebooks. And there is in this paper mix or sampling Spark paper, which comes in that little B7 notebook that we saw that I purchased from so-and-so. So what we're going to do is I'm going to compare the inks. We're going to swatch them. You know all about these papers, having discussed it already. What I want to do is proceed to the swatching. I've got 4 inks to propose this week, 4 Chinese inks, and we'll swatch them on the Star Rainbow and on the Spark. We'll compare it to Tomoe River and we'll see what gives. Okay, so that's in terms of paper. What have I got for you in terms of inks? Well, I purchased 8 of these inks. We're going to do 4 this week and 4 next week. The company is, I bought this on, I forget now if it's Taobao or AliExpress. I'll put it down in the description. It's referred to as MALLEE Garden. Then there's Misty Forest, seems to be the edition or the set. And then, of course, I've got various colors. We've got these that we'll review this week. And I've got these that we will review next week. Okay? They seem to be kind of lighter inks, and I kind of ignored those type of inks on my channel. I know they're not my favorite, but they do make some noise. Not in the swatching, but more when you write with them. So I thought there's some good fun shading. I know a lot of you like these inks as well. So I think it's fair that we'll give it a go. Okay? So why don't we give it a go? We're going to take the middle portion of the Traveler's Notebook right here. Okay? We're going to take the Spark paper. Now, where is the Spark paper? Spark paper, here it is. So why don't we do the swatching here. We'll put this underneath, and this is the Tomoe River. So I realize that we're going to push this a little bit. There we go, just so that we get organized properly. Okay, I think we're all set. The ink, my tools are here, my folded pen, my dip pen from Eureka. I think we're all set. Okay, let's go. We'll start with this purple. This is the color referred to as Dusk Mist. Beautiful bottles, by the way. I'll show you the bottles. Take a look at this. Very nice. They're not very big. They're 50 milliliter, but still very nice. I didn't pay these too much money. I'll put the price up on the screen or in the description, one of the two. Okay, so why don't we start here? Second swatch on the dusk. I can tell right away that the spark is has more texture, just by the swatch. Whereas the swatching on both the Toma River and the Crena are identical in my view, in terms of feel. Okay? We'll see what results in a second. Okay, so this is, what did we say, Dusk Mist, I believe it is? Dusk. I can't write because it's so far from me. And it's from MALLEE Garden. And it's the Misty Forest series. Okay. This is TRP number 7. This is Spark Crena. And this is Star Rainbow. Oh yeah, there's a big difference between the Spark. Just the little bit that we've just done now, it convinced me that there is a difference. But I wanted to see how because some of you mentioned that they tested the Crena in terms of the ink performance. Obviously, there may be differences between, the TRP number 7 and the Crena. Look, there's nothing like TRP number 7. Okay, so it's like the best of the worst. Whatever we got left, it's gone. So unless we can find miraculously, like I did, supplies somewhere, we're not going to see it again. So we have to live with it. This scent's like, there's a sense that comes out of it, almost like a rose bush. Whoa. Did a mess. What a mess, Vince. Okay, I apologize. There we go. That's okay. It's part of the course, as they say. So this is called, let me see on the box, Maple Bank. Funny sort of an experience on Spark. I'll describe it in a second. Whereas, you see how smooth this is? Smooth, thick, wet. This is sticky, and at the same time, I feel the texture. So it's both sticky and textured. Wow, it's the two characteristics that I don't like in a paper. And again, it's very subjective. I mean, people like texture. People like when it's smooth and glossy. So, but the question is, how does it meet, or how does it, live up to or compare to Toma River? So there you go. Okay, what a mess here. Sorry. Next one is Azure Peak. It's kind of a green. I'm expecting it again to be a kind of a very light green, a little bit like the orange we just did. Okay, here we go. Very, very watery, less intense. Look at this. I mean, I'm fighting to put down the swatch. Okay, I got to be careful here. Otherwise, I'm going to mix it with that orange blob we just did. So I've got to go around it. Okay. That's that. So, what did we say this is? Oh man, I just can't remember. As your peak. Okay. Yeah, it just, it's fighting with me. Yeah, it's so smooth, so smooth. What a pity that that paper is no longer being made. Okay. And the last but not least, my in view, you just push that up a little bit so that this is the driftwood. So it's a brown. Okay. And again here, I'm going to try to avoid those orange blobs. There we go. So this is driftwood. Okay, there we go. So, we shall see what gives. We'll give it a few minutes just to get all these swatches dry. Come back, we'll compare the performance, we'll see what gives on each of the paper, different papers, and we'll see what the backside looks as well, see what the handwriting looks like as well, so we'll be right back. Okay, we're back with the inks all dry. Now, when you take a look at this, folks, I got to tell you, I'm very surprised because, at least with these inks, what I notice here is that at least the Crena Star Rainbow is more intense in terms of ink performance than my Tomoe River paper. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot more kind of sheening and shading in this paper. This one's kind of similar to Tomoe River, and even then, yeah, similar to Tomoe River, the Spark paper is, but the Star Rainbow, I think, outperforms both the Spark, at least with this ink, and the Tomoe River. Now, what I wanted you to note about the ink, per se, is how it's kind of got this kind of chalky look to it when you write with it. I don't know if you could see that. You know, it's nice. It's kind of light, foggy. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't have any sheen. It doesn't really have much shading, although I think the shading will probably come out with a true fountain pen, and we'll take a look at that later. But I like the way the inks write. You can see a little bit of shading there. We'll test that later on. We'll try to put all of these inks into actual pens to see how they perform. But, you know, these are not my favorite type of inks, these light shaded inks. But I got to tell you, it's starting to grow on me. So there you have it. Those are the inks dry. Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, we're back here. We're back, and here's the box. So let's open that up. Okay. Some correspondence. Must be a letter from Terry. Wow. Okay. You know what? I haven't taken a look at this. I'm not sure what it contains and whether or not I'm at liberty to share thoughts in here, but I'll take a look at this maybe in one of my breaks. And should there be some interesting information included in there, I will share it with you. Otherwise, let's put the box away and let's take a look at what goodies we have in here. Always well packaged, never an issue. And you know, Terry was the one responsible for me landing my Delta Dolce Vita original. And for those of you who haven't seen the video, I invite you to take a look at that video. Want to see, as I always say, if you want to see a grown man cry like a baby, well, you've got it. I don't think I've ever been that emotional for a thing, an inanimate thing in my life. So, okay, so we got 2 boxes. Let's see what's here. 20 or Z2, that must be making reference to perhaps the nib that comes with this pen. Wow, that is very nice. Isn't that interesting? Okay, this is model 22, premium ebonite, black red, clip is copper. The nib type is a Yo 06 gold, fine, cursive italic, assembled for Vincenzo from Terry. And they always include, very nice of them, instructions on how to eyedropper, an eyedropper along with some silicone grease. So I have to assume that this pen can in fact be eyedroppered. Wow, it is really nice. And of course this is just a sneak peek because I'm going to be reviewing these pens in detail. Again, that's the Lotus. I believe that's the Lotus brand. So this is a Lotus pen and they call it the Model 22. I just absolutely love this ebonite. Really, really nice. So there you have it. Nice. Very, very nice. So let me just take my, I'll put that there. Okay. Put the box aside. Okay, just put that there. Let's see what's in here. This is the Saratoga. Okay, so this has got to be the pen that has that special nib. Oh, I recognize this. This is the Lotus pouch that usually it comes in. Saratoga PSP Alumilite, that's the material. Deep Sea Eddy. It's a Schaefer clip, chrome. Schaefer steel, broad. Okay, very nice. So let's see. Open that up. Okay. Oh, that's very nice. Oh yes, this is that beautiful blue aluminite. Alumilite. That's interesting. Very nice. And of course, it's the motor underneath that's special. There you have it. Wow, that is really nice. So what they've done is they've taken a Lotus pen, Lotus body, and put in a Schaefer nib. That is really, really interesting. I've been eyeing this pen for a while now, so I'm glad that she's with me now. Thank you very much, Terry, for this and for the channel. Well appreciated. We're going to be doing a really detailed review of both pens sometime very soon. So stay tuned for that. That's just a sneak peek. And again, thank you to Peyton Street Pens. Please check out their site. I'm sure you'll find some goodies. It should be part of your regular routine every week. Check out what Peyton Street Pens has got for us. And, you know, if you're doing the hunt for Grail pens, it's an ideal place because one day that, magic pen will find its way there and you can purchase it at a very, very reasonable price as usual. Thank you, Terry. And we will be right back with the next segment. Okay, well, we got some more goodies in terms of pen haul. I got two more pens to show you that have come in the studios. First one is this one, and frankly, I don't remember if I showed you this already, because I did purchase it along with another pen from the same maker. But in case I did, please forgive me. Otherwise, here it is. It's a pen from Peng Cheng Yupin, and you'll see that you'll see this pen both being sold on Taobao and AliExpress. You can check the prices. I believe you can get them probably cheaper on Taobao, but you have to pay shipping, depending on where you are around the world. And if you can consolidate your shipping, it might be cheaper to buy it from Taobao. Beautiful pen, and it's got a really nice nib, which is the ear of the horse nib. There you have it. Now, again, I know I've reviewed this pen. That's why I remember going through this before, but was it during a recap or because it's part of my review? I'm not sure. So forgive me if we've gone through this, but it's a gorgeous pen with a gorgeous nib, really nice. Given that, our Hongdian, Wing Sung, Mahjong, and Asvine are really quiet, well, Jinhao's come up with a few things now, and so has Mahjong, but the other two, or the other three, even Admok, has come up, with some additional pens early in the year, but it's fairly quiet. So I love this yellow. Really like yellow. I'm a sucker for yellow. If there's a yellow pen somewhere that meets my standards, you can be sure that I will do what I can to purchase it. So that's the first one. The second one is this lacquered version of the 9056 from Jinhao. Look how beautiful the lacquer is. You've seen another one on this channel. I had purchased the green version of it. There you have the green. Both are really, really nice. And I found the prices were extremely reasonable. And the pen is just really, really, some very, very deep lacquer there. Very nice. I plan to do a video on the lacquer pens that I've purchased or that I'm in the process of receiving from China, just to see what kind of work they do in terms of the lacquer. And they're certainly cheaper than all kinds of beautiful works of art that you can get from Japan. That's a completely different league. But if you want something that's reasonably priced, but that gives you a kind of a special look, there you have it. And of course, we'll put in the description in the links to these pens, so you can check out pricing, etc., etc. So there you have it. That's in addition to the Peyton Street pens gifts, if you will. We've got two additional pens. This one you've seen before, but this one and this one, of course, will be added to my collection. There you have it. We will put this away, come back with the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. I thought I'd do some writing with these two pens. The Ear of the Horse pen here, stay tuned for my review. Okay, so it's just a sneak peek. We'll do some writing there. You'll see my writing sample there. But these two, since it's going to be a while before, I'm trying to gather enough, several pens before I do any video on lacquered Chinese pens. I just want to assemble a few so that can make the video worthwhile. This is Crena paper. Look, folks, look how nice that is. It's just so soft, and it just lays open, and it's just, I'm almost falling in love with this pen even more than Toma River. My God, that's a sin, just repeating those words. But having said that, and the first came with that special long knife nib. Okay. Ooh, it's got some shimmering ink. I forget which one. So I'm hoping this writes. So this is the pen haul. So far, so good. for the 28th of June, 2026. And this is essentially is the lacquered okay, I think there's no more ink in here. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's no more ink in here. I'll tell you what. Why don't we fill it up with this one? See what gives. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Now, I just did what I don't recommend you do. But when you buy cheaper inks from China, because obviously I dipped this in there and maybe contaminated that ink with whatever ink this was. But it doesn't really matter for me just because I haven't spent $40 on that bottle of ink. So let me start all over again here. So this is the lacquered Jinhao. What's not writing because of the nib now? Jinhao, I think they call it the 9056. Okay, so you know what's happening now is that shimmering ink that's been in this pen for a while is not working out. So I need to wash that out properly and then come back with it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. In the meantime, let me see this one. I filled this up with, it's got I replaced the nib that was there. I didn't like the nib, so I replaced it with a Kegaloo medium nib. Okay. And I've put in, driftwood. So this is the lacquered Jinhao 9056 brown and gold lacquer. The nib, sorry about that. The nib is a number 6 steel Kegaloo medium nib. These nibs are just delicious. Very thick. You can see that's a big medium line or a thick medium line. It's almost, I would say to you, a broad. But there you have the brown. It's got lots of shading, and I think it looks much nicer, even nicer once the ink dries. So why don't we take a second, be right back with that green pen. It'll be all nice and washed out. Okay, so I'm back. Now, this should work, hopefully. Otherwise, there's something wrong with that long knife nib. We shall see. So let me just push this up. This is the lacquered Jinhao with the green and blue swirl. The nib, I don't know who makes these, but I believe it's Kegaloo. Long knife or long blade. Can never remember the difference. I think it's a medium. Okay. Very nice. Nice and you can see the ink is a little bit lighter, but it does offer some shading. So it's nice. I like inks that are a little more intense to match my personality. But you know what? It's still a very nice, pleasant green. So there you have it. The lacquered 9056. Beautiful pens, folks. Beautiful pens. Okay, that does that. What we'll do now is we'll come back with the revisited segment. I've got a few things to show you, a few things to revisit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with some pens I like to revisit. With that X169 new Jinhao pen that has just come out that I showed you in the market news, I thought I'd revisit some of my Jinhao pens, and in particular the number 8 nibbed pens, which I think are completely underrated. You can get most of those pens for like $20 and less. And if you're a, just starting out in this hobby and would like to get a great writing experience from some very nice nibs, I think those Jinhao pens are really nice. And the 9019 with that huge converter, I think it's, I'm surprised that nobody's really picked up on it, and that it did not, encourage others to do the same, especially in some of the bigger pens. Yes, you need the size in the pen to fit that converter, but it's a huge converter. We'll take a look at it. Actually, why don't we go to my overhead camera and I'll show you. I've just picked some from my collection. Here they are. We got the 159. We got the 9019. This is a lacquered version. And this is the what do they call this one? The 1935 with the guitar clip that not too many people liked, but that I adore. So when you look at, this is the demo version. When you look at the converter that's in there, it's just huge. For those of you who've never seen it, takes out a lot of ink, and it's a screw-in to boot. Okay, so very solid, and it's got that gorgeous number 8 nib. Now I've got different sizes, so we'll do some writing with these pens. Some of them have been inked with the new inks that we just swatched, and I'll let you know when we get to them. So put that aside. Take out, of course, my Crena notebook. We're not going to, we're not going to spare this notebook, I can assure you. Okay, so let's just close up a little bit here. So this is going to be, whoops, sorry about that. Pens revisited. '28, 06, 2026. It's very neat because I can remember what pens I revisited and when. Okay, so the first one is the, now these are all Jinhaos, of course, but this is the Jinhao 1935. It's the red demo. And it has the sword medium Jinhao nib. This has the sword number 8 steel. And this is a medium. There you have it. Some of you might wonder, why does he keep writing fountain pen therapy? Well, it's not because I'm, it's just rather than writing, what is it, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, which is a little too long, I find that I could, kind of express to you the writing by just a few words, and, why not promote my channel while I'm at it, right? The next one is the 9019 version, but this is a kind of a lacquered. Beautiful. I love this pen. I wish they would have done this section as well, just so that I could feel that lacquer when I write with it. But I think it would have, put an extra coating here, and then you would not have been able to to screw in the section. So this one's got a medium, and that is that what do they call it? Heartbeat nib. So this is the Jinhao 9019, and I'm going to put lacquered red, and it's got the heartbeat. Number 8. Steel. Medium nib. With, can you guess the ink? Yamabudo. Just a beautiful ink for a beautiful pen. Very nice. Totally underestimated. Totally underestimated, I gotta tell you folks. Okay, now we're gonna get into a couple of pens that I've inked with that very light, with those light inks that we have here. So the first one is, I think in this one, and now I forget, I think it's Dusk Mist that I put in this one. This is another 1919. This has a standard Jinhao medium nib. So let's see how this writes. Yeah, you could tell right away that the ink is very light. Jinhao 9019. This we'll put burgundy. I think the nib could use some tuning. Let me just do some tricks to this nib and come back, because I don't think it's doing justice to that ink. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm not sure I could do anything better than what I've just done. Let me just notice it's just a little bit not properly set. Burgundy, this is the standard nib sings, standard medium nib. I think the ink, there's ink starvation. The ink is light as it is, and it's not going on the paper as nicely as I would want. And the pen is, in all honesty, the pen is writing like more like a fine than it is a medium. So we're going to have to maybe do a little more work on that nib. There we have it. So that's that one. And as you can see, the inks are very light. This one's got the red Maple Bank ink, which is this one here. We'll see what this gives. And it's this is a Jinhao medium heartbeat. And this, by the way, the ink smells like roses and not maple. Okay, so here we go. Jinhao 9019 red demo. Again, the ink is very light, and it's got the MALLEE Garden maple bank ink. This is the heartbeat. This ink is a little too light for my taste. Heartbeat number 8, and it's a medium. Just doesn't give me enough punch, not for my taste. But maybe some of you prefer that. Next, this one's got the Azure Peak ink in it. So again, this is a standard medium nib that's been cut down into a stub. You see that? So let's see how this does. This is the Yeah, it needs, I think this this ink just needs much thicker nib. Jinhao 9019. This is the green demo. Oh yeah. Wow, what a difference. And it's got the MALLEE Garden. Azure Peak. Funny name for a green, but maybe that means something and it just escapes me. And this one's got a standard Jinhao medium stub grind. Very nice. As light as that ink is, I think with this tub, it brings it out just a little more. So I think these inks deserve thicker nibbed pens. They would do really well in the Opus 88 1.5 stubs, you know. Maybe I'll revisit that. That's another 9019. This one is the 9019, just a clear demo, and it has this has a fine. So let's see how the fine writes. Jinhao 9019. This is the clear demo. I forget what ink it has. It doesn't have any of those inks. So this is a standard number 8 steel. And it's a fine. Very nice fine nib. Not scratchy at all. Very wet. And like I said, really underestimated. So that's what the fine looks like. Don't want to have too many of those, but we're going to move away now from the 9019 and go into the 159, which is kind of the X159. It's kind of an imitation of the Mont Blanc. This one's got a medium, standard medium nib. So this is the Jinhao. Oh, this is nice. X159. This is it's a blue acrylic. The ink is this one. Shouldn't have put in a brown pen, but that's just the way it worked out. Driftwood. So this is the MALLEE Garden. And here's where you can see some of the shading. Driftwood. And it's a medium nib. Very nice. So you see, as the moment you get into darker inks and thicker or wetter, juicier nibs, the ink is a lot of fun, actually. It gives you that kind of a light shaded color, very discreet, but kind of hazy, kind of foggy, chalky. Here's another, there's another medium. I thought I had an extra fine somewhere, but Jinhao X159. I'm going to just leave space for the next pen. It's my last, and it's a medium nib. I forget what ink it's in here. I had to prime it. There's old ink in it. It's not one of the new ones. I think this is the extra fine. Another X159. Yeah, this is the extra fine. My recollection is the extra fine was a little too scratchy, but let's see what it gives. Well, it's an extra fine, right? And it's green. And it is a Jinhao number 8 steel, extra fine. So you can, hear it a little more. We could do some tuning to it, to give it a little more depth and not as scratchy, but it's very precise. If I just pass this on the mesh, the micro mesh, it'll get thicker line, but now you're not getting the precision of the extra fine. So I'm not sure that's a good idea. I like to keep it the way it is. So those are my pens revisited, and I'm really looking forward to the new Jinhaos that have come out. Congratulations, Jinhao, one of the few pens that seem to be coming, or new pens, they seem to be coming out of China these days. So those are my pens revisited, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, so we're back with the next segment, weapons for next week. In keeping with the theme of going with a bunch of pens with the same nib, we did find the fine nibbed pens. We've done the medium nib pens. Now we're going to look at some of the broad nib pens that I have in my collection. I've taken out two different batches, one for this week and one for next week. Let me just show you what they are. Go to my overhead camera. Everything here is the more expensive ones that I would, there's a bunch of Leonardos here, there's some Deltas, there's a Gravitas, etc. So we're going to put those away for next week. Just a sneak peek, if you will. And we're going to concentrate on the ones that are a little bit less expensive. I've got some Chinese pens, I've got some Indian pens here. I've got some Italian pens, and I even have a Bennu pen. So these are going to be the front runners, and from this, I'm going to choose the best ones for the week. So here they are. Let's set up the notebook and we'll do some writing. Okay, so we're back with the weapons for next week. Let's start out with a couple of Vizier pens. So simple acrylic, cigar shaped. I'm not sure it has a name here, but first of all, weapons for next week. And it's for the 28th, 2026. First one is Vizier, I think you just call it the Vizier Burgundy. Very reasonably priced, nice, a nice, they call it a stub nib, but it's really it's really, there's less line variation. I would call it more of a broad, but I will mention that it is their stub nib. But I think it's simply a broad. Very nice, simple budget pen. Well done. A similar budget pen to that one is this Vizier. This they call, I believe, the All-American Yellowstone. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a sucker for yellow pens. So this again is Vizier All-American Yellowstone. Maybe there is a difference between their broad nibs and their, again, simple budget pen. Maybe there is a difference between their broad and the stub. You can take a look at the stub here. It's much thinner than this one. Look how thick and juicy this line is. But very nice nib. Very nice nib. Always along the lines. This is one of my favorite pens. Something about this pen I really, really enjoy. This is the Vizier, and it's got some shimmering ink to reflect on that beautiful aluminum. Checkmate 2.0. Chess pieces are kind of their logo, Zier, but take a look at that nib. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's a perfect match. This gives me fountain pen therapy. Ah, just so nice. Very, very nice. Next. Okay, we're moving on to another brand. Actually, this is probably one of... I shouldn't have put it into my budget pen category, but it's there now, so I might as well show it to you. This is the Kilk Epigram Blue. Very nice pen. Very nice acrylic, and I really like that center band. So this is Kilk, I believe a Turkish company. Epigram. And recently I saw a video by Wasted Paper for Endless. He kind of designed an epigram red. I think they call it the epigram Chicago. There's some red and blue and black in it. Really nice pen. The video just came out, so if you see it, if you spot it, Wasted Paper, take a look at it. It might be a pen that may be interesting in purchasing. Now this is called a double broad nib. There's a double B, double B, but I think it's a broad, you know. Beautiful, just a beautiful nib. Very, very nice. What else have I got here? This is probably one of my fondest broad nibs. It's a Schmidt nib in this Benu Euphoria Aurora Borealis. So this is a Benu. It's my only Benu pen, and I love it. I don't think I need to get more Euphorias. Aurora Borealis. And the nib is the Schmidt broad nib, which I think is probably one of the nicest broad nibs on the market. Just right, you know. Really, really nice nib. Broad nib, Schmidt, you can't go wrong. And I don't know maybe they tuned it, or maybe it's just luck. Really writes nicely. This is a Magna Carta M800 with this huge nib. I don't know if that's a number 9 nib or a number 8, but it's a little bit bigger than a number 8, I would think. It's not the Mag 1000, but Magna Carta. I don't know. I think they call it Mag, not M. Mag 800 with a Magna Carta. Let's call it a number 8. Beautiful nib. Very, very nice for a huge nib. And I know they offer these Magna Carta nibs sometimes in other pens. Don't hesitate to get them. Very, very nice nibs. Okay, let's continue on the other page. So that's the Magna Carta M800. I do have another Magna Carta, which is this one. This is, now I don't know if it writes, I just put a little bit, it's a eyedropper, I just put a little bit of ink. So this is the Magna Carta Emotions, and they call it the Friendship. It's got a Magna Carta number 6 steel nib, and of course it's broad. Very nice. Very, very nice. performs beautifully. Problem with this pen is it dries up on you. And it's an eyedropper, so you waste a lot of ink. And if it dries, I don't know why it dries up. Then you've got all that ink in there, and you've got to keep just kind of putting it in water a little bit. And you can't even prime it with a converter. You got to prime it by just dipping the nib in some water and get the flow going. This is my Asvine J16, my favorite J16. Prefer this one over any of the Ebonite versions. And it's got a Yobo broad nib. So this is the Asvine J16 in the, I don't know if that's aluminum, I forget now, but it's, put it this way, the metal version. The broad Yobo nib on this is just exquisite. Well tuned, and it's just out of the box, folks. I don't think they did anything to it. Sometimes Yobo, Bach, Schmidt, they come right out of the box with just a beautiful, beautiful nib. And in fact, it's fountain pen therapy with this pen, folks. What do you think of this blue ink? Isn't it gorgeous? I think it's gorgeous. And it's a cheap Shinsan aquamarine ink that I featured, I believe, last week. It kind of imitates the Shizuku. And let me tell you, I've ordered a bunch more. They should be coming in soon. They're going to be my go-to inks for a while now. They kind of replaced Hongdian. This is Epsilon, and it's not cheap, but it's not one of their more expensive ones. So this is Aurora Epsilon. I'll put red here because I have a few. This is the red barrel. It's got an Aurora number 5. Broad, thick broad steel nib. And it too brings me lots of fountain pen therapy. Thick and juicy, folks. And on this Crena paper, I can't stop talking about this paper. And I had it inside of me. I kept it to myself. Every time I use this notebook in one of my recaps or one of my, pen reviews, I must have demonstrated my fondness for the paper, but I wanted to keep it as low-key as possible just because I didn't want to give it away. But some of you may have noticed that. This is the Trammell, I think they call it the coffee pen or something like that. Trammell Coffee. It's got a Joya broad nib. I replaced it came with if I'm not mistaken, originally with a Yobo nib. So this is the Trammell Coffee. And it's got a Yobo Joya branded broad number 6, and it's steel, of course. Very nice. I love this pen. Tell you why in a second. For those of you who remember, I don't expect you to remember, actually, that's unfair. It is a kind of Pro Gear, not even slim, Pro Gear standard look, and you can see the coffee bean there. Look, if you will, or imitation. But the acrylic on this pen, it looks cheap, but it's heavy and solid. Just a beautiful pen. Recommend it. I think they come in different motifs. I forget, there's a light blue one if I'm not mistaken, but if it's at a good price, I recommend it, folks. It's just a nice little pro gear. Very nice. So that's Trammell. This is another Lotus pen that I have. This was sent to me, gifted to the channel by Lotus. I'm not sure it has a name. At the time, I think he was working on some ebonite pens, and he decided to throw it in one of my orders. This is Lotus. I'm just going to call it ebonite brown, green, swirl. It's got a Yovo, juicy Yovo number 6, broad steel nib. Really, really wet. A wet writer. And last but not least, probably my favorite of all of these, anyway, and the winner of my Chinese Pen of the Year last year is this, Pope pen, the 690, with this enormous, let's just compare it to the Magna Carta. This is number 9. I think this is a number 8. Yeah. So the Magna Carta is slightly bigger than a normal number 8, I would think, but it's certainly not a number 9. This is one of my favorite broad nibs, if not my favorite. So this is the Wingsung Yunlai. I think it's the Yunlai line, if you will. 930. Takes a little time to get used to writing with such a big pen, but once you get going, wow. And with this Crena paper, it's okay. It's smooth. It's really, really nice. Better than with the Tomoe River Original, because with the Tomoe River Original, you just kind of, the fluidity is so great that it just writes on its own. So this has a number, it has the Wingsung number 9 steel nib, and it's broad, of course. There you have it. So there you have my weapons for this week, folks. It's going to be fun trying to choose. Broad nibs are always my favorite because they're wet and juicy. For those of you who know my channel now, you know that it's one of my preferences. Those are my weapons for next week, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun writing with these pens. It's going to be tough to choose, 7, 8, 9, or even a dozen of those. So there you have it. Thank you very much for this segment. Stay tuned for the next one. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for the last segment, which is YouTube review. Well, I don't have much for you this week. I have one video that I would recommend, and that's because I forgot to mention the pen in market news. Magna Carta Mag 600 Steel. They finally came out with a series of steel flex-nibbed Mag 600s. Fig Boot on Pens reviews one of them, the Mag 600 SA. Very nice material. I think this is probably the, in terms of price, the cheapest version of that steel flex-nibbed Mag 600. So if you're interested, take a look at that. I think the best reviews for these pens would be somebody who can, do some calligraphy and do some flexing with those nibs. Fig Boot doesn't have that ability, which is unfortunate, But I'm thinking about it. It's about $300 US, I believe, or maybe even less than that. And I've got the gold nibbed ones, and from what I understand, the flex on the steel is just as bad or just as good, depending on how you view things. If that's the case, it's a real noodle. It's very difficult to write with. I think it's more a fun pen than a real pen to write with for any long or for any duration for that matter. I think if you want to have some fun and just fool around and do some calligraphy maybe, but to use that pen to write something substantive, I don't recommend it. Any event, if you're interested, should have mentioned that in market news. Finally, we don't only have limited editions being put out by some of the retailers. They are available, and there's quite a few of them. So there you have it. Recommend that one. And in terms of my own video, well, folks, you've seen the video. Most of you have, that follow this channel regularly. This Wednesday, I put out finally my best alternative Tomoe River paper. It's a very long video. I would really appreciate if you can take a look at that or any part of it. It's a lot of work, and I'd like to get some views going. Please recommend it to your pals, your friends, because it is very comprehensive, and hopefully it will. It's going to do well over time. I think that's the type of video that's not time driven. If you look up Tomoe River paper, it hopefully will come out eventually. And don't forget, I have 2 or 3 other videos on comprehensive guides to fountain pen friendly notebooks. Take a look at all of those. I'm going to put them up on the screen. You'll see there's quite a few. So if you're into paper and want to do a deep dives, there you have it. That's on my channel. So folks, enjoy your week, enjoy your pens, enjoy your paper and your inks, and lots of fountain pen therapy for all of us. Stay tuned. Ciao.